Well, welcome to another presentation, you guys. Lone Wolf Pack Show. Today we're going to talk about receipts. It's an important thing that we haven't talked about, or we have talked about it, but, well, I don't think people really get it. So we're going to explain it one more time. So I'm going to upload a presentation to you that I couldn't show before on my other recording because this is my second time to record this, but it's going to come up and I'm going to show you guys exactly what the recording is. And, well, we're going to talk about, again, receipts. That's what it's about. This is about receipts for you guys so you can understand better why they are important. You can't get any further until you know this, because this is like a huge piece of the puzzle. And this is only going to be up for a limited time. So you guys get to watch it. You get to watch it. If you don't, then I'm sorry. You'll have to watch it on the website. And, well, here's the presentation. You guys enjoy. And I yield.
And welcome to another dive into the realm of equity jurisprudence. Today we are going to have a discussion on the importance of receipts to maintain honor and good faith in transactions as the beneficial heir to an inheritance. We will discuss the foundation, birth, and evolution of alternative forms of payment. The common denominator is that receipts have remained the same regardless of the tender. Join me in the expansion of the mind in this journey of receipts in the world of trusts. Receipts are foundational to the commercial and legal worlds, acting as vital instruments that ensure transparency, accountability, and trust. Their necessity is intricately linked to the historical evolution of currency, from tangible assets like gold and silver to the abstract forms of money we use today. This exploration delves into the reasons why receipts are indispensable, tracing the transformation of value from solid, universally recognized commodities to intangible and speculative mediums. Additionally, it examines the critical role of receipts in private trusts, where they serve as the bedrock of trust administration and fiduciary responsibility, with a particular emphasis on equity jurisprudence, where receipts have often determined the outcome of legal disputes. The foundation of value, gold and silver as currency. Historically, gold and silver were the primary mediums of exchange due to their intrinsic value. These precious metals, recognized universally for their rarity and durability, formed the bedrock of early economic systems. Gold and silver coins were valued not merely as tokens but for the actual metal content they possessed, which had a consistent value across different cultures and eras. The intrinsic value of gold and silver made transactions straightforward and self-explanatory. When individuals exchanged gold or silver coins for goods or services, the transaction was final, and the value was evident to both parties involved. There was little need for additional documentation, as the transaction was its own proof. Aristotle's assertion that money is a creation of nature, for it is the only thing that is naturally valuable, highlights the natural and universal acceptance of these metals as currency. Aristotle, Politics, 350 BC, Book 1, Chapter 9. The inherent worth of gold and silver ensured that their use in transactions was clear-cut, reducing the need for extensive documentation beyond the exchange itself. The evolution to promissory notes, a step towards abstraction. As trade and commerce expanded, the limitations of physical gold and silver became increasingly apparent. Transporting large quantities of precious metals was cumbersome and risky, necessitating the development of a more practical solution. This led to the advent of promissory notes, which were essentially written promises to pay the bearer a certain amount of gold or silver on demand. Promissory notes represented a significant shift from tangible assets to representative forms of currency. These notes were not valuable in themselves, but derived their value from the gold or silver they represented. The introduction of promissory notes necessitated the use of receipts, which served as evidence that the bearer had indeed deposited or exchanged gold or silver for the note. These receipts provided a record of the transaction, essential for maintaining trust in a system where the currency was no longer inherently valuable, but merely a claim on something that was. The shift from tangible to representative currency is well illustrated by John Law, who argued that money is not the value for which goods are exchanged, but the value by which they are exchanged. Money and Trade Considered, 1705, p. 7. Law's insights underscore the evolving role of money from being a physical store of value to becoming a medium of exchange, which necessitated the use of receipts as proof of the underlying value. 3. The birth of fiat currency, the detachment from intrinsic value. The 20th century marked the widespread adoption of fiat currency, money that has no intrinsic value and is not backed by physical commodities. The value of fiat money is derived from the trust and confidence that people place in the government that issues it. The gold standard, which had tied the value of money to a specific quantity of gold, was gradually abandoned, culminating in the U.S. in 1971 when President Nixon officially ended the Bretton Woods system, thereby severing the dollar's direct convertibility to gold. Fiat currency represents a significant departure from the concept of money as a store of value. Unlike gold or silver, which are universally recognized for their intrinsic worth, fiat money is valuable only because it is decreed to be so by the government. This shift has profound implications for the necessity of receipts. In a system where the currency itself holds no intrinsic value, the importance of maintaining a record of transactions becomes paramount. Milton Friedman, in his seminal work, A Monetary History of the United States, highlights the risks associated with fiat currency, particularly the potential for inflation and currency devaluation. Friedman and Schwartz, 1963, p. 134. He argues that the abandonment of the gold standard removed an important check on the government's ability to print money, leading to the erosion of the currency's purchasing power over time. The detachment from tangible assets has also led to greater economic volatility. Without the backing of a physical commodity, fiat currencies are subject to fluctuations in value based on market perceptions, government policies, and global economic conditions. This volatility underscores the importance of receipts as a means of tracking and verifying financial transactions in an increasingly abstract monetary system. IV. Cryptocurrencies, the new frontier of intangibility. The advent of cryptocurrencies represents the latest and perhaps most radical phase in the evolution of money. Cryptocurrencies are entirely digital, with no physical counterpart and no intrinsic value. Their worth is derived from the decentralized networks that validate transactions and the belief of their users in the technology behind them. Bitcoin, the first and most well-known cryptocurrency, was introduced in 2009 by an anonymous figure known as Satoshi Nakamoto. Cryptocurrencies challenge traditional notions of money and value. They are not controlled by any central authority and operate independently of government regulation. However, this independence comes at a cost: the complete detachment from any tangible asset or state-backed guarantee. The volatility of cryptocurrencies further underscores the necessity of receipts or digital records. Without a physical form or a government guarantee, the only way to verify ownership and the completion of a transaction is through a receipt or a blockchain ledger entry. The risks associated with cryptocurrencies are highlighted by Nobel laureate economist Joseph Stiglitz, who critiques these digital currencies for their potential to destabilize financial systems. He argues that cryptocurrencies are more likely to be used for tax evasion and money laundering than legitimate commerce. Cryptocurrencies, the Financial System, and the Law, 2018 PL2. Stiglitz's concerns point to the challenges posed by the intangible nature of cryptocurrencies and the increased importance of documentation and verification in such a system. V. The progressive diminishment of tangibility. The journey from gold and silver to cryptocurrencies is a journey of increasing abstraction. With each step, promissory notes, fiat currency, cryptocurrencies, money has become less about tangible value and more about trust, promises, and technology. This shift has not only changed the nature of commerce, but also heightened the importance of receipts as proof of transaction and ownership. Receipts have evolved from simple acknowledgments of payment into complex instruments that protect against fraud, ensure accountability, and provide legal evidence in disputes. In a world where currency is increasingly intangible, receipts serve as the critical link between the promise of value and its realization. Friedrich Hayek, in his treatise Denationalization of Money, eloquently captures the dual nature of modern money, stating, "Money is one of the greatest instruments of freedom ever invented by man, but it is also one of the most dangerous." Hayek, 1976, pr. 30. Hayek's observation underscores the necessity of careful management and documentation in an increasingly abstract financial system, where receipts play a crucial role in maintaining trust and stability. Vigs. The role of receipts in modern commerce. In contemporary commerce, receipts serve a multifaceted role. They act as proof of purchase, providing the buyer with evidence that a transaction has taken place. This is particularly important in the context of warranties, returns, and refunds, where a receipt is often required to validate a claim. Moreover, receipts are essential for financial record-keeping, enabling individuals and businesses to track their expenses, file taxes, and manage their finances effectively. In legal contexts, receipts are crucial pieces of evidence. They can be used to prove that a debt has been paid, that goods have been delivered, or that services have been rendered. The legal importance of receipts is rooted in the principle of documentation as a means of establishing facts, a concept that has been recognized since Roman times. The Roman jurist Ulpian famously stated, "A receipt is the written acknowledgement of the fulfillment of a duty." Digesta 46, 3.54. Furthermore, in the digital age, receipts have taken on new forms. Electronic receipts, or e-receipts, are increasingly common, providing the same functions as traditional paper receipts, but in a more convenient and environmentally friendly format. These digital records are often stored automatically in email accounts or mobile apps, making them easier to manage and harder to lose. 7. Receipts and private trusts. The cornerstone of fiduciary responsibility. In the context of private trusts, the importance of receipts is magnified. A private trust is a fiduciary arrangement in which one party, the trustee, holds and manages assets for the benefit of another party, the beneficiary. The trustee is legally obligated to act in the best interests of the beneficiaries, managing the trust assets prudently and in accordance with the terms of the trust agreement. This fiduciary duty is one of the highest standards of care recognized by law, and receipts play a crucial role in fulfilling this obligation. 1. Accountability and transparency. One of the primary responsibilities of a trustee is to maintain accurate and detailed records of all transactions involving the trust assets. Receipts serve as concrete evidence of these transactions, documenting every expenditure, income, and distribution. This level of documentation is essential for ensuring transparency in the administration of the trust, as it allows beneficiaries to review the actions of the trustee and verify that their interests are being protected. Receipts also provide a clear paper trail that can be audited if necessary. In the event of a dispute or legal challenge, the presence of detailed receipts can be the difference between a trustee demonstrating their adherence to their fiduciary duties and facing allegations of mismanagement or breach of trust. 2. Protection against mismanagement and fraud. Receipts are also vital in protecting the trust from mismanagement and fraud. Trustees are entrusted with managing significant assets, and the potential for abuse is a serious concern. By requiring receipts for all transactions, the trust establishes a system of checks and balances that helps prevent unauthorized expenditures or fraudulent activities. For instance, if a trustee were to make an investment on behalf of the trust, a receipt would provide evidence of the transaction, including details such as the amount invested, the date, and the recipient. This documentation not only ensures that the investment is properly recorded, but also allows for a review of whether the investment was made in accordance with the trust's guidelines and objectives. 3. Legal compliance and taxation. Trusts are subject to various legal and tax obligations, and receipts are essential for compliance. Trustees must file annual tax returns for the trust, detailing all income, expenses, and distributions. Receipts provide the necessary documentation to support these filings, ensuring that the trust complies with tax laws and regulations. Moreover, in the event of an audit by tax authorities, receipts serve as critical evidence to substantiate the trust's financial activities. Without proper documentation, the trust could face penalties, fines, or other legal consequences. 4. Beneficiary distributions. One of the most sensitive aspects of trust administration is the distribution of assets to beneficiaries. These distributions must be made in accordance with the terms of the trust agreement, and receipts provide essential documentation of these transactions. By keeping detailed records of distributions, the trustee can demonstrate that they have fulfilled their obligations and acted in the best interests of the beneficiaries. Receipts also protect the trustee in the event of disputes among beneficiaries. For example, if one beneficiary were to claim that they did not receive their fair share of a distribution, the trustee could produce the relevant receipts to show that the distribution was made as required by the trust agreement. 5. Preserving the integrity of the trust. Finally, receipts are crucial for preserving the integrity of the trust over time. Trusts are often designed to last for many years or even generations, and maintaining accurate records is essential for ensuring that the trust's purpose is fulfilled. Receipts provide a historical record of the trust's activities, allowing future trustees to understand the decisions made by their predecessors and to continue administering the trust in a manner consistent with its original intent. This continuity is essential for maintaining the trust's integrity and ensuring that it continues to serve the interests of the beneficiaries over the long term. Data, equity jurisprudence, and receipts, a pillar of fairness. In equity jurisprudence, the role of receipts is not merely procedural, but fundamental to achieving fairness and justice. Equity courts have historically emphasized the importance of documentation, such as receipts, in resolving disputes where legal remedies are insufficient or where the strict application of law would result in injustice. 1. Receipts in cases of fiduciary duty. Equity jurisprudence has long recognized the importance of receipts in cases involving fiduciary duty. In Keech v. Sanford, 1726, one of the seminal cases in equity, the court held that a trustee must account for every action taken on behalf of the trust. While this case did not directly involve receipts, the principle it established, that trustees must act transparently and in the best interest of the beneficiaries, underscores the necessity of receipts as evidence of the trustee's actions. Later cases, such as Ex parte Lacy, 1802, further emphasized the role of receipts in maintaining the fiduciary relationship. The court ruled that any transaction involving trust property must be documented, and that the trustee must be able to provide evidence, such as receipts, to prove that they acted within their fiduciary duties. The absence of such documentation could lead to the presumption of fraud or mismanagement. 2. Receipts as proof of payment in equity cases. Receipts have also played a crucial role in equity cases involving disputes over payments. In Daring v. Earl of Winchelsea, 1787, the Court of Chancery considered a dispute over the repayment of a debt. The court emphasized the importance of receipts as evidence of payment, ruling in favor of the party who could produce receipts that documented the payment of the debt. This case established the principle that in equity, the burden of proof often rests on the party in possession of the relevant receipts, reinforcing their importance in ensuring justice. In another notable case, Wright v. Vernay, 1834, the plaintiff sought to recover money loaned to the defendant. The court ruled in favor of the plaintiff, who was able to produce receipts proving the loan and subsequent demands for repayment. The case illustrates the power of receipts in equity, where they serve as critical evidence in disputes over financial transactions. 3. Receipts in trust disputes. Receipts are particularly important in cases involving disputes over trust administration. In Knox v. Jai, 1872, the House of Lords dealt with a dispute between beneficiaries and trustees over the management of trust assets. The court found that the trustees had failed to keep proper records, including receipts for expenditures made on behalf of the trust. As a result, the court held the trustees personally liable for any losses incurred due to their lack of documentation. This case highlights the principle that, in equity, trustees are held to a high standard of accountability. Receipts are a crucial part of this accountability, serving as proof that the trustee has fulfilled their duties in accordance with the trust terms and in the best interests of the beneficiaries. 4. Equitable maxims and the role of receipts. Equity is governed by a set of maxims, which are guiding principles that courts use to achieve fair and just outcomes. Several of these maxims emphasize the importance of documentation, including receipts, in resolving disputes. One such maxim is, "He who seeks equity must do equity," which implies that a party seeking relief in equity must come to the court with clean hands and must be able to provide evidence of their equitable conduct. In cases where a party claims to have fulfilled their obligations under a contract or trust, receipts serve as critical evidence of this fulfillment, supporting their claim to equitable relief. Another relevant maxim is, "Equity aids the vigilant, not those who slumber on their rights." This principle underscores the importance of timely action and proper documentation, including receipts. A party who fails to produce receipts as evidence of their actions may be deemed to have neglected their rights, and equity may not grant them relief. United States equity jurisprudence. The role of receipts in landmark cases. In the United States, equity jurisprudence has further underscored the significance of receipts in various legal contexts, particularly in disputes involving trusts, fiduciary duties, and financial transactions. Several landmark cases demonstrate how receipts have played a decisive role in the court's decisions. 1. Pomeroy v. Benton, 1871. In Pomeroy v. Benton, 77 U.S. 65, 1871, the U.S. Supreme Court considered a dispute involving the administration of a trust. The case centered on whether the trustee had fulfilled their fiduciary duties in managing the trust assets. The trustee was required to produce receipts and other documentation to account for all transactions made on behalf of the trust. The court ruled that the absence of receipts constituted a breach of fiduciary duty, leading to a judgment against the trustee. This case illustrates the critical importance of receipts in proving that fiduciary responsibilities have been properly discharged. 2. Spalding v. Monroe, 1873. In Spalding v. Monroe, 86 U.S. 369, 1873, the Supreme Court addressed a dispute over the repayment of a debt secured by a mortgage. The plaintiff, who sought to foreclose on the mortgage, was required to produce receipts showing that the debt had not been paid. The court emphasized that, in equity, the burden of proof rests on the party seeking to enforce a financial obligation. Because the plaintiff could not produce sufficient receipts to prove non-payment, the court ruled in favor of the defendant. This case highlights the power of receipts in determining the outcome of equity disputes involving financial obligations. 3. National Bank v. Insurance Company, 1876. In National Bank v. Insurance Company, 104 U.S. 54, 1876, the U.S. Supreme Court considered a case involving the mismanagement of funds by a bank acting as a trustee. The insurance company, as the beneficiary of the trust, alleged that the bank had failed to account for significant sums of money. The court ruled that the bank's failure to produce receipts and other records to substantiate its handling of the trust funds was evidence of mismanagement. The decision underscores the importance of receipts, improving the proper administration of trust assets, and protecting the interests of beneficiaries. 4. Provident Life and Trust Co. v. Mercer County, 1887. In Provident Life and Trust Co. v. Mercer County, 170 U.S. 593, 1887, the Supreme Court dealt with a dispute over the collection of taxes on trust property. The trustee sought to challenge the tax assessment, arguing that the property was exempt. However, the court required the trustee to produce receipts and other documentation to prove the property's exempt status. The trustee's failure to provide adequate receipts led the court to rule against the trust. This case illustrates the role of receipts in establishing the factual basis for equitable relief and the importance of thorough record-keeping in trust administration. 5. Central Trust Co. v. East Tennessee Land Company, 1893. In Central Trust Co. v. East Tennessee Land Company, 136 U.S. 509, 1893, the Supreme Court addressed a case involving foreclosure of a mortgage on land held in trust. The trustee was required to produce receipts and other financial records to account for all payments made on the mortgage. The court emphasized that in equity, trustees must maintain detailed and accurate records to justify their actions. The trustee's inability to produce sufficient receipts led to the foreclosure being upheld, demonstrating the critical importance of receipts in protecting both trustees and beneficiaries in complex financial transactions. X. The role of receipts in estate planning. Receipts also play a critical role in the broader context of estate planning, particularly when dealing with trusts as a vehicle for managing and distributing assets. Estate planning involves the careful management of assets during one's lifetime and their distribution upon death, often through the use of trusts to avoid probate, reduce taxes, and ensure that assets are distributed according to the deceased's wishes. In this context, receipts are essential for several reasons. Asset verification. Receipts provide proof of ownership and the value of assets that are transferred into the trust. This is important for establishing the trust's asset base and for ensuring that all assets are properly accounted for. Legal documentation. In the event of a challenge to the estate, such as a dispute over the validity of the trust or the distribution of assets, receipts provide crucial legal evidence that can support the trustee's actions and protect the estate from claims. Tax compliance. Receipts are necessary for filing accurate tax returns for the trust, as they provide documentation of all income, expenses, and distributions. Proper documentation ensures compliance with tax laws and can prevent penalties or disputes with tax authorities. Beneficiary communication. Receipts also serve as a communication tool between the trustee and the beneficiaries. They provide transparency and help to build trust by ensuring that beneficiaries have access to accurate and detailed information about the management of the trust's assets. Conclusion. The inviolable necessity of receipts. The evolution of currency from gold and silver to cryptocurrencies has fundamentally altered the nature of money and commerce. As money has become more abstract and detached from tangible value, the need for receipts has grown correspondingly. Receipts are indispensable in a world where the currency itself is no longer a store of value, but a symbol of trust and a facilitator of exchange. In the realm of private trusts, the importance of receipts is even more pronounced. They are the cornerstone of fiduciary responsibility, providing the documentation necessary for accountability, transparency, and legal compliance. For trustees, receipts are not just a formality. They are a critical tool for protecting the interests of beneficiaries and ensuring the proper administration of the trust. In equity jurisprudence, receipts are essential for achieving fairness and justice. They serve as critical evidence in disputes, ensuring that parties are held accountable for their actions and that equitable relief is granted based on clear and convincing proof. The principles of equity, as demonstrated in key cases, underscore the importance of receipts in maintaining the integrity of fiduciary relationships and in resolving disputes over financial transactions. Receipts serve as a critical safeguard in this system, providing proof of transactions, ensuring accountability, and offering protection against fraud and disputes. They are the tangible evidence in an increasingly intangible financial world, bridging the gap between the abstract nature of modern currency and the concrete reality of commerce. The writings of economic scholars, legal experts, and fiduciaries highlight the importance of receipts in maintaining the integrity of financial systems and private trusts. As the nature of money and trust administration continues to evolve, the role of receipts will remain essential, ensuring that the promises represented by modern currency and fiduciary obligations are honored and upheld.
Okay, you guys, that was the conclusion of the presentation. I don't know why this is so bad, this screen. So anyway, the presentation is done, and that is why receipts are so important. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to call this and conclude this with a day. You guys need to know that receipts need to be done. I appreciate you guys very much for coming out, hanging out, and hanging out with us, and we will talk to you very soon.